I remember the desert like it was a memory I could never forget. An endless stretch of black sand under a sky swallowed by stars that refused to shine. The wind was a soft whisper, brushing against my neck, carrying a scent of metal and dust. Somewhere far off, a light flickered, strange and irregular, like a heartbeat I couldn't locate. The silence pressed in thick and heavy, and every shadow seemed to stretch too long, moving just beyond the corner of my eyes. I walked slowly, the sand crunching beneath my boots, each step punctuated by a distant hum, low and vibrating through the ground. I felt watched, not by animals, not by any person, but by something older, patient, and indifferent. Then the fog rolled in, pale and thin, swirling around my legs, curling like fingers around my ankles. And that's when I saw it. The desert night stretches endlessly. Cold air brushes my skin, sharp and dry. The ground beneath my feet is firm, yet soft, as if it breathes. I walk slowly. The moon casts pale light, barely enough to see. A shimmer ahead, flickering, fleeting, but nothing solid. The wind carries whispers. At first, faint, like leaves rustling across rocks. Then closer. They seem to coil around me, curling through the spaces between my ribs. I stop. My own breathing sounds too loud. The whispers grow, soft, careful, deliberate. I bend closer to the sand. Small ridges shift under my gaze. Not rocks, not shadows. Bodies, maybe, sleeping or buried just beneath the surface. The hum starts low, vibrating through my teeth, then deeper through my bones. I move forward, each step hesitant, drawn toward the pale flicker. The desert stretches behind me, vast, empty, yet somehow aware. Every grain of sand feels like it's listening. The whispers grow louder. They shape themselves around a word. My name, repeated, softly, over and over. A gentle insistence, but unrelenting. I kneel. Fingers trace the ridges, the soft swell beneath the sand. Warmth? Or just my imagination? Pulling where it shouldn't be? The hum intensifies. It vibrates in my chest. I taste it. Metallic. Bitter. The pale light flickers again. I see nothing that could make it. Just movement beneath the sand. Shifts subtle like breathing. The air smells of dust and something older, decay, faint, sweet. I inhale. Hesitate. My throat tightens. The whispers now surround me, circling, echoing. Closer, closer. I stand. The wind carries them across my skin. A soft brushing, a warning. Shapes move ahead, small, restless, but never fully revealed. I want to run. I do not. Fear settles in quietly in my bones, steady and patient. The hum, it matches my heartbeat now. Slow, steady, growing louder. I can feel it in my temples, behind my eyes. Soft footsteps, or maybe the sand itself, press against the soles of my shoes. But I'm alone. I bend down again. The whispers twist, murmuring my name. They stretch and bend, coaxing me closer to the sand. I taste the dry grit in my mouth. A shadow moves in the corner of my vision. Not mine. I step back. The light flickers again. The sand undulates, slow, deliberate, almost liquid. Whispers chase me in circles. I blink. The shapes vanish. The hum fades for a moment. Silence hangs heavy, thick like fog. I exhale. The air is cold on my lips. I feel the shift beneath the sand, subtle like a pulse. I take a tentative step forward. A ridge breaks. A shallow mound collapses. Nothing visible rises from it. Just the echo of my name, faint, lingering. The desert stretches ahead. Empty, still, but I feel it watching, waiting. The hum is back, quieter now, insistent. Soft, beneath the ribs, inside the spine. I stop. The light fades. The whispers retreat, curling into the darkness, but I know they are still there, always there, beneath the sand. I kneel one last time, fingertips brushing grains that seem alive. The air tastes of metal and cold stone. A gentle vibration pulses under my hands. I hear it, my name, soft, endless. I rise slowly. The desert exhales. The shadows stretch, pale and thin. I take one step forward. The whispers follow. And I know I am not alone. The dunes stretch endlessly beneath a pale moon. Cold air bites my cheeks. Sand slips beneath my boots, soft and dry. I stumble. The desert exhales, still and vast. A faint shimmer flickers ahead. I see it then. A campfire. Flames dance without a sound, curling upward like smoke that has forgotten how to burn. The smell of wood, faint and warm, drifts to me. I step closer, cautious, drawn by something I don't understand. The sand shifts under my hands. Static hums in the air, soft, almost welcoming. I notice footprints. Mine, leading to the fire. No prints lead away. I kneel, run fingers through the sand. It clings heavy, strange. A whisper brushes past my ear. I freeze. The fire flickers again. Shadows stretch along the sand, long and thin. One separates from the dark, hovering at the fire's edge. I blink. It melts into nothing, like smoke dissolving in moonlight. I inhale. The air tastes of ash and cold. Silence hangs heavier than darkness. It presses against my chest, slowing my heartbeat. I step closer. The flames curl, teasing, warm yet untouchable. I reach out. Heat brushes my fingertips. But no burn, only the hum beneath the sand. The desert seems to shift around me. Dunes rise and fall like slow waves. The shadow flickers again, vanishing as quickly as it came. Soft footsteps, or maybe the sand itself, press around me. I do not move. The fire glows brighter without warmth. It dances silently, hypnotic. I watch my reflection in the dark, staring back from the sand sheen. Something in it moves without me. I crouch, trace my path in the sand. The footprints return no answers. I taste dry grit in my mouth, feel it on my tongue. The wind carries whispers I almost understand. A cold shiver snakes up my spine. The shadow returns, lingering closer. It folds in on itself like smoke or memory. The fire sways, unnaturally calm, a heartbeat without pulse. I rise slowly. The dunes stretch, pale and silent, around me. The desert exhales again, soft and hollow. Flames flicker once more. I blink. Nothing remains. No fire, no shadow, just sand, empty, waiting. I stand alone. The wind rustles across the dunes, carrying a taste of ash and cold metal. Silence presses closer. I feel it settling beneath my skin. I step forward. The sand shifts beneath my boots, soft and unwilling. A hum rises faintly, matching my own breathing. I glance back. The footprints end where the fire once burned. I walk. The desert moves with me. The night holds its breath. And I know something watches. Something remembers. The desert stretches endlessly beneath a velvet sky. Cold air presses against my skin. Sand shifts softly beneath my boots, whispering with each step. At first, the sky seems empty, dark, vast, no stars, only the soft hush of the night, folding around me. I look longer. Faint points appear, blinking, irregular, deliberate. It feels intentional, as if the stars themselves are watching. The cold carries a hum, low, steady, vibrating through my chest. It fades into the air, leaving only silence heavier than darkness. I shiver. The wind smells faintly metallic, dry against my tongue. Shapes move across the horizon, impossible to identify. Slow, gliding shadows that fold into the dunes or vanish entirely. My heartbeat hammers softly, echoing in rhythm with the blinking points above. I stop. Sand drifts through my fingers. I feel it cling to the skin, gritty, warm under my palms. The hum rises again, faint, almost coaxing. I kneel, tracing patterns in the sand. The stars blink back, irregular, deliberate, communicating in a language I cannot speak. Each point stretches and fades, pulling my gaze outward, upward, until I ache with the sky's cold weight. A shadow flits along the horizon, dissolving before I can focus. Soft footsteps, or maybe just a shift of sand, press behind me. I am alone, yet the desert feels alive, waiting, attentive. I taste dryness in my mouth, sand and ozone, and inhale the cold night air. The sky pulses softly, blinking once, twice, 3 times. Each blink resonates with a hum that vibrates in my chest. I want to speak, to answer, but no words form. Shapes move again, folding in and out of the horizon, impossible angles, ungraspable forms. I blink. They vanish. The wind sighs against my skin, brushing along my neck, sharp, wet with cold. I rise slowly. The hum fades, leaving the night thick and still. I feel the weight of the blinking points pressing into my vision, tugging at the edges of my mind. Silence curls around me, soft, patient, almost sentient. I step forward. The sand shifts beneath my boots, grains clinging like tiny hands. The stars blink once more in a slow rhythm that feels almost like breathing. A shape drifts above the horizon, lingering just beyond reach. The air tastes of cold stone and iron. A faint vibration hums beneath my feet, steady, alive. I can feel it through my bones. The horizon pulses faintly, shadows folding in and out, deliberate and quiet. I kneel again, brushing sand through my fingers, watching the sky. Each blink above mirrors my own shallow breaths. I sense it, more than see it, a presence, patient, unblinking, communicating without words. The shapes fade again, melting into the darkness of the dunes. The blinking points continue, irregular, deliberate, like eyes winking in the void. I taste grit on my tongue, cold air in my throat, and something older, metallic, brushing my lips. I rise. The desert exhales softly. The sky hums faintly, invisible threads pulling my gaze. I feel watched, remembered, as if the stars themselves hold memory. Soft footsteps, or perhaps just a shifting wind. Follow my path. The hum returns, rising and falling like a pulse, matching my heartbeat. I glance back. Nothing. Only sand and shadow stretching endlessly behind me. The blinking continues. Slow, intentional. I blink back, almost like they answer. I step forward. The horizon folds and drifts. Shadows vanish before I can see them clearly. The desert waits. The sky watches. And I know I am not alone. I never have been. The desert stretches, pale beneath a low moon. Cold air brushes my face, dry and sharp. Sand shifts beneath each step, soft yet unyielding. Ahead, a line of light stretches across the horizon, faint, distant, almost trembling. A low hum drifts from them, constant, steady, vibrating through my bones. I approach. Each step feels heavier, as if the sand itself resists me. The air tastes faintly metallic, charged, carrying a scent of ozone and dust. The lights bend and pulse. Slow, deliberate, almost mimicking my heartbeat. I stop. The lights stop too. Silence folds over the desert, thick, alive, pressing against my skin. I take another step. The hum rises, faintly echoing my own pulse. The sand shifts, soft, yielding, yet somehow deliberate. I glance down. My footprints stretch behind me, leading nowhere. The lights move with me, a slow dance across the horizon, bending, folding, curving in ways impossible to trace. I shiver. The cold presses against my neck, raising goosebumps along my arms. I kneel, brushing sand to my fingers. It clings, heavy, slightly warm. The hum resonates under my palms, vibrating through the thin soles of my boots. I taste grit on my tongue, dry, metallic. I rise slowly. The horizon stretches, pale and infinite. The lights pulse again, deliberate, hypnotic. I feel watched. Something waits in the hush between the hums. I step forward. Each grain of sand presses underfoot, soft, deliberate, alive. The lights bend with my motion, following, imitating, echoing my heartbeat. I glance back. The desert stretches empty, yet aware. The hum deepens. It vibrates through the air, under my ribs, over my collarbones, threading through my teeth. I inhale slowly, tasting dust and cold stone. The air hums in rhythm with my pulse, faint, insistent. I stop. The lights stop. Silence folds around me. It is thick, patient, like it breathes. I feel its weight on my shoulders, its cold fingers brushing the back of my neck. I take another step. The lights pulse, bending slightly, mimicking the rise and fall of my chest. Sand shifts beneath my boots. The desert exhales, quiet, patient. I kneel again, tracing patterns in the sand. The hum resonates through each fingertip, subtle, hypnotic. It matches the rhythm of my heart. I taste metallic grit on my tongue. I rise slowly, breath shallow. The horizon stretches, infinite, pale. The lights pulse once, twice, deliberate, aware. Soft vibrations trace my spine, curl along my arms. I step forward. The sand flows underfoot, soft, pliant, alive. The hum rises, matching my heartbeat exactly. I glance back. Nothing follows, yet I feel a presence. The lights bend, fold, pulse. Each movement slow, deliberate, alive. They mimic, anticipate, wait. I taste cold air and dust on my tongue, feel it against my lips. I stop. The lights stop. The desert exhales. The silence presses against my skin, thick, patient, alive. I step again. The lights bend with me. The hum resonates through sand, air, and bone. I glance back. Only dunes, infinite, pale, stretching into nothing. And I know I am walking across a horizon that watches. Every step mirrored, remembered. The desert waits. The lights wait. And the hum waits with me. The desert stretches pale beneath a low moon. Cold air drifts across the dunes, carrying dust that clings to my skin. Each step presses softly into the sand, leaving traces that vanish behind me. I notice something strange. Shadows in the sand flicker and shift like movement beneath the surface. Then faces appear. They are fleeting reflections that shouldn't be there. Eyes that blink once, then vanish. Mouths forming half sentences I cannot hear, only sense, curling the air like smoke. I taste cold metal on my tongue. The wind carries whispers too soft to catch, brushing past my ears. I feel on my skin, too. Fingers, or maybe the wind, tracing my arms, my neck, though I am alone. A figure flickers in the distance. Too far to see clearly. A shape tall, steady. It smiles, but the expression doesn't reach its eyes. I step closer. The sand shifts beneath me, soft and pliant, yielding yet alive. The reflections scatter, faces melting back into the grains. The whispers curl around my shoulders, teasing, coaxing, patient. I kneel, brush sand through my fingers. Faint metallic taste lingers on my lips. The faces return for a heartbeat. Eyes hollow, mouths half open, dissolving before I can focus. The distant figure sways, rhythm slow, deliberate. I want to look away, but I cannot. Its eyes follow. They hold nothing, yet feel endless. I rise slowly. The desert exhales around me, empty yet aware. Every grain of sand seems conscious. The whispers fold in and out of the air, curling around my ears, soft, insistent. I step forward. The figure flickers again, closer, yet impossibly distant. Its smile stretches, pale against the darkness. I taste grit and iron on my tongue. Cold presses against my skin. I glance down. The sand ripples, faces appearing, melting, returning. I feel hands brushing my arms, my back. No one is there. Only the reflections, only the desert. I stop. Silence presses in, thick, alive. The figure halts. The faces fade entirely, leaving nothing but sand, pale and infinite. I breathe slowly. The wind carries a metallic scent, the taste of iron, dust, and silence. Soft footsteps, or perhaps the shifting of the sand, press around me. I am alone. The figure flickers one last time. Eyes empty, smile frozen. It dissolves into the horizon, leaving only the hum of the desert, low and steady. I kneel again, tracing my fingertips through the sand. It clings, heavy, warm in ways it shouldn't be. The echoes of half-formed words brush against my mind, fleeting, gone before I can catch them. I rise slowly. The dunes stretch pale and infinite around me. I step forward. The reflections may return, or they may wait. I do not know. The desert waits. The sand waits. And I know I have walked too far to ever be alone. The desert stretches pale beneath a thinning moon. Cold air brushes my cheeks, dry and biting. Sand drifts under my boots, soft, shifting, alive. The radio crackles suddenly. A spark in the quiet. No station. Only static, twisting, curling, alive. A voice hums through the haze. Soft, melodic, repeating numbers I do not recognize. Coordinates. Strange, deliberate, calling through the emptiness. I kneel, brushing sand to my fingers. It clings, warm in ways it shouldn't be. The hum vibrates through my palms, echoing beneath my ribs. Static curls around the voice. Almost words form, curling, stretching, fading. I taste cold metal in the air, dry grit on my tongue. The desert exhales, silent, waiting. I step forward. Each foot presses into the sand, soft, deliberate. The voice hums again, a faint pulse matching my heartbeat. I follow instinctively, though I know the path leads deeper into emptiness. The wind brushes my skin, cold, thin, carrying whispers of dry stone and iron. I glance back. Nothing follows. Only shifting dunes, pale and infinite. The coordinates repeat. Soft, insistent, deliberate. Static fold around them, twisting, forming shapes that vanish before I can see. The hum resonates beneath my boots, through the sand, through my chest. I kneel again, brush sand through my fingers. It clings warm, vibrating faintly with the radio's pulse. I taste a metallic tang on my tongue, feel it settle in my throat. I rise slowly. The desert stretches infinite around me. The voice hums. Static twists. I follow. A shadow moves along the horizon. Impossible shape, folding in and out of the dunes. I blink. It vanishes. The radio hums, melodic, patient. I step forward. Each grain of sand shifts beneath my boots. The voice folds around me, pulling me deeper. Cold presses against my neck, along my shoulders, brushing skin I know is bare. I stop. The desert exhales. Silence folds over everything. The hum lingers, faint, vibrating beneath my ribs. The coordinates echo once more. I step again. Sand shifts softly, yielding deliberate. Static curls around the voice, forming almost words, dissolving before they reach comprehension. I taste iron and grit, feel cold air brushing the back of my throat. The horizon folds, pale and infinite. Shadows stretch and fold in impossible angles. The voice hums, soft, melodic, insistent. I follow. Each step presses deeper into sand that clings. The desert waits, patient, alive. The radio pulses, coordinates, numbers, almost words. I step forward, and I know following it means leaving everything behind. The hum threads through sand, air, and bone. I walk deeper into the desert, into emptiness, and the radio waits with me. The desert stretches pale beneath a thin moon. Cold air presses against my cheeks, carrying dust that clings to my skin. Each step sinks softly into the sand, leaving traces that vanish behind me. Fog rolls in suddenly, thick, white, swallowing everything. The horizon disappears. Dunes vanish into nothing. I hear footsteps, soft, deliberate, mimicking mine perfectly. I stop. They stop. A shiver snakes up my spine. The air tastes metallic, faint like iron on my tongue. I step forward again. The footsteps follow, echoing, precise, insistent. The fog swirls, brushing against my neck, my arms, cold and wet. Shadows flicker within it, sharp, fleeting, almost faces. I run. The footsteps accelerate. Sand shifts beneath my boots, soft and pliant, moving like it breathes. The fog folds around me, thick, alive, pressing against my skin. I glance behind. Shadows vanish, folding into white. Yet the footsteps remain, echoing mine exactly. I taste grit and cold air. I slow, holding my breath. They stop. A pause stretches, infinite. The fog exhales, heavy, waiting. I step cautiously forward. Shadows flicker again, vanishing before I can see them fully. The desert hums faintly, beneath the fog, beneath the sand. Soft, rustling brushes my shoulders. I kneel, fingertips tracing grains of sand. It clings cold and damp, vibrating faintly under my touch. The fog curls around me, whispering, insistent. The footsteps resume, slow, careful, mirroring each movement. I rise. The fog stretches endlessly, pale infinite. Shadows flit at the edges of vision, impossible shapes. I taste metallic dryness on my tongue. I step again. The footsteps follow, perfect, relentless. The desert waits, silent, aware. I feel the cold press along my spine, along my neck, brushing skin I know is bare. I stop. They stop. Silence folds around me. Thick, alive. Shadows vanish. The fog shifts. The desert exhales. I step once more. The fog bends with me, swirling, alive. The footsteps echo mine, soft, precise, patient. I glance behind. Nothing but shifting white. I kneel, tracing patterns in sand. It clings damp and heavy. The fog hums faintly, brushing my hair, my arms, whispering along my neck. Shadows flicker again, fleeting, sharp, impossible. I rise slowly, breath shallow. The desert stretches pale and infinite. I step forward. The footsteps follow. The fog waits. And I know I am not alone. I never have been. The desert, the fog, the shadows, they are with me, always. The desert stretches pale beneath a thinning moon. Cold air brushes my cheeks, dry and biting. Sand drifts underfoot, soft and restless. A pale light appears between the dunes, hovering just above the ground. Soft, cold, impossible. It casts long shadows, stretching across the sand. Shadows that bend, curl, fold in ways the mind refuses to hold. I step closer. The air tastes metallic, faintly bitter. A hum pulses from the light, subtle, rhythmic, echoing beneath my ribs. I feel the sand shift beneath my boots, soft, pliant, alive. Shapes appear within the glow. Tiny, alien, almost human. I blink. They tilt, bend, watching me without eyes that feel familiar. I step closer again. The light pulses, drawing me in, slow, deliberate, hypnotic. I taste dust on my tongue, cold iron in the air, and something unplaceable. I kneel, brushing sand through my fingers. It clings, heavy, warm in ways it shouldn't be. The shadows stretch toward me. The shapes within the light tremble, folding and twisting impossibly. I rise slowly. The hum threads through my bones, under my feet, along my spine. The light pulses again, drawing me forward. I wonder if it invites or warns. Soft rustling drifts across the dunes. Sand shifts underfoot. The air carries the faint scent of ozone and cold metal. I step closer. The shapes within the light move in subtle synchrony. Heads tilt, limbs curl. They are not quite alive, nor quite still. I pause. The desert exhales. Silence folds around me, thick, patient. The light pulses again, drawing my gaze, curling into my vision. I step forward, fingertips brushing sand. It clings, cold and warm at once. The hum threads through air, sand, and skin. I feel it settle beneath my ribs. I glance at the shapes again. They shift, alien and delicate. I see no faces, yet they seem aware, watching, waiting. I step closer. The shadows stretch, bending toward me. The pale light pulses, slow, deliberate. I taste the metallic tang of the air, the dust on my tongue. I kneel once more, brushing sand to my fingers. It folds beneath my palms, soft, pliant, alive. The shapes shimmer, almost imperceptibly. I wonder what they know. I rise slowly. The desert stretches pale and infinite around me. The light pulses. The shadows bend. The shapes tremble, drawing me forward. And I know, the light waits. The desert waits. The shapes wait. And I have stepped too close to ever leave alone. The desert stretches pale beneath a thinning moon. Cold air drifts across the dunes, brushing my cheeks, carrying dust that clings to my skin. Each step presses softly into the sand, leaving traces that vanish behind me. The wind shifts. not natural. It moves against me, deliberate, insistent, like it knows the path I take. Whispers ride the currents. Fragments of conversations I have never heard. Faint, curling, impossible to understand fully. I taste grit and cold metal with each inhalation. I kneel, brushing sand to my fingers. It clings, heavy and warm in ways it shouldn't be. The hum of the wind resonates beneath my palms, threading through my bones. Something moves beneath the dunes. I cannot see it, yet the sand shifts in sync with the wind, rising and falling like a slow breath. I rise slowly. The air carries a metallic tang of dust and stone. The whispers curl around my ears, soft, persistent, coaxing attention I cannot resist. I step forward. Each grain of sand presses beneath my boots. The wind folds around me, brushing skin along my arms and neck, cold, wet, alive. The sand shifts beneath my feet in subtle, deliberate patterns. I glance behind. Nothing, yet I feel the presence, patient, moving beneath, sinking with the breath of the desert. Each inhalation tastes metallic, sandy, impossible to swallow. The whispers rise. Fragments stretch into near words, twisting, curling, fading. I shiver, breath catching, taste of iron thick in my mouth. The desert exhales, slow, deliberate, alive. I step again. The wind presses against me, constant, insistent. Sand clings to my boots, to my skin, shifting beneath each step like it remembers me. I glance down. The dunes fold and rise, a subtle rhythm beneath the surface. I kneel once more, tracing grains to my fingers. They cling, vibrating faintly, alive beneath my touch. The whispers curl around me, brushing my neck, my hair, threading through the air. Something moves beneath the dunes, sinking with the wind, patient, aware. I rise slowly, chest tight. The desert stretches pale and infinite around me. Each breath tastes of metal, dust, and cold stone. The wind exhales softly, deliberate, alive. I step forward. The whispers follow, weaving into my ears, folding into the air. The sand shifts beneath my boots. The desert moves with me, patient, aware, unblinking. I pause. The wind folds around me, carrying fragments of impossible conversations. Shadows drift beneath the dunes, subtle, fleeting. The whispers fade, leaving silence thick and expectant. I kneel one last time, brushing sand to my fingers. It clings, heavy and warm, vibrating faintly. The desert exhales around me, patient, deliberate. Every step I take echoes beneath the sand, beneath the wind, remembered. I rise slowly. The desert stretches pale and infinite. The wind waits. The sand waits. And I know I am not alone. I never have been. The desert stretches pale beneath a thinning moon. Cold air brushes my cheeks, carrying dust that clings to my skin. Each step sinks softly into sand that shifts underfoot, restless, alive. Shadows gather. At first, nothing more than vague shapes, folding into one another. Then eyes appear, pale, reflective, watching. They do not blink. They move with uncanny awareness, following me with patience. I step forward. The eyes multiply. Each glance away makes them more numerous, stretching across the dunes like stars pressed into black stone. The air tastes metallic, dust clinging to my tongue. I feel it brushing my arms, my neck, like phantom fingers. I step carefully, but the desert shifts beneath my boots, folding, remembering, alive. I glance around. I realize I am walking in a circle. The dunes fold back to where I started. The eyes never leave. I kneel, brushing sand through my fingers. It clings, heavy, warm in ways it shouldn't be. The hum of the desert threads through my bones, subtle, insistent. The eyes stretch, countless, patient, unblinking. I rise slowly. Shadows ripple with movement I cannot track. The pale light of the moon glints across the eyes, reflecting, multiplying. I taste grit and iron on my tongue. I step forward again. Each movement mirrored in the dunes, mirrored in the eyes. The desert exhales softly, patient, alive. I hear whispers fold through the air, faint, impossible to grasp. I glance back. The circle is complete. I have returned to where I began. The eyes follow, unwavering. I step carefully. Shadows ripple, folding, stretching, watching. The cold presses against my skin, brushing along my shoulders and neck. Dust clings, thick, metallic, lingering in my throat. I pause. Silence presses in, thick, patient. Every breath tastes of iron and sand. The eyes multiply, filling the dunes with their pale, reflective gaze. I step again. They move with me, precise, insistent. Each glance away only increases their number, threading through shadows and folds of sand. The desert hums beneath my boots, beneath my bones. I kneel one last time, tracing grains of sand to my fingers. They cling, vibrating faintly beneath my touch. The eyes watch, patient, aware, unblinking. The desert exhales, folding around me, infinite, alive. I rise slowly, breath shallow. I step forward. The eyes move with me. The circle tightens. The desert stretches pale and infinite. I am caught in their gaze. And I know I have returned to the beginning. I will never leave. The eyes wait. The desert waits. And I am never alone. The desert stretches pale beneath a thinning moon. Cold air brushes my cheeks, carrying grit that clings to my skin. Each step presses softly into sand that shifts beneath my boots. The sky changes. Flickers of static ripple across the darkness, like a broken screen. The stars disappear, replaced with trembling light, fractured and uncertain. Shapes emerge briefly. Towers, silhouettes, impossible machines. They vanish before I can focus, leaving only residue in my mind. I kneel, brushing sand to my fingers. It clings warm and heavy in ways it shouldn't be. The wind threads through the dunes, carrying faint metallic tang and dust. Each flicker leaves a strange familiarity. I recognize nothing, yet it echoes somewhere deep in memory. The static hums softly, curling through my ribs, beneath my boots, through the air. I rise slowly. The shapes flicker again, bending and folding. Impossible geometry stretching against the black sky. I taste iron in my mouth, feel cold dust brush my neck. I step forward. The flickers follow, brief glimpses of structures that should not exist. Shadows ripple across the sand, soft, fleeting, unplaceable. I feel the desert breathe beneath my boots, alive, patient. The static folds in and out, forming shapes, dissolving them. Each pulse leaves a residue, a whisper of familiarity I cannot name. I shiver, breath catching, taste grit and metallic tang on my tongue. I pause. The air is thick, alive, folding around me. The flickers continue, fractured towers, impossible machines, angles that make no sense. The desert exhales slowly, deliberate, patient. I kneel again, fingertips brushing sand. It clings, soft, pliant, vibrating faintly beneath my touch. The flickers curl across my vision, brief and insistent. I feel the hum thread through my bones, the cold press against my shoulders. I rise slowly. The static sky hums faintly, curling into the edges of perception. I step forward, boots pressing into sand that remembers each motion. The flickers twist and vanish. I taste metallic dust on my tongue. I glance around. Shadows ripple across the dunes, soft, fleeting. The shapes in the sky leave residue in my mind. I cannot unsee them, cannot unfeel the strange familiarity. I step again. The wind threads through the dunes, curling around my arms, my neck, carrying whispers I cannot place. Static pulses across the sky, fractured, alive. I feel the desert hum beneath my boots. I kneel one last time, brushing sand to my fingers. It clings, heavy, alive, vibrating faintly. The shapes flicker once more, brief, impossible. The desert exhales. The static fades, leaving only pale, infinite night. I rise slowly. The dunes stretch endlessly around me. The sky is quiet now, yet the residue remains in my mind, strange and unplaceable. The desert waits. The desert stretches pale beneath a thinning moon. Cold air drifts across the dunes, brushing my cheeks, carrying dust that clings to my skin. Each step sinks softly into sand that shifts beneath my boots. Something glows faintly beneath the sand. Edges of a hatch, buried, half forgotten. Soft, pale light flickers along the rim, almost imperceptible. I kneel, brushing sand aside. It is cold beneath my fingers, hard and metallic. The desert hums faintly, almost in response. I lift the hatch. A rush of cold, silent air escapes. It brushes my face, rustling sand around my boots. The air tastes metallic, carries a faint scent of stone and dust. Inside, walls lined with diagrams unfold. Constellations mapped across surfaces, intricate symbols I cannot read. They twist and curve in ways my mind cannot place. The pale light shifts across them, casting long, impossible shadows. A low hum begins, resonating from the hatch itself. Soft, insistent, threading through the air, through the sand beneath my feet. I kneel again, fingertips brushing the walls. They vibrate faintly, alive, whispering beneath my touch. I rise slowly, eyes tracing each symbol. The desert hum threads through my bones, curling beneath my ribs. The air tastes metallic, faint, lingering on my tongue. The symbols pulse faintly in the pale glow, almost as if aware. I step closer to the hatch, cold pressing against my arms. The hum grows, subtle, patient, folding into the silence around me. I hear faint rustling beneath the sand, as if the desert remembers every movement. The diagram shimmers slightly, delicate, impossible, unplaceable. I kneel one last time, brushing sand through my fingers. It clings, heavy and pliant, vibrating faintly. The hatch exhales slowly, folding cold air into the desert night. The hum threads into my chest, insistent, patient. I rise slowly, breath shallow. The desert stretches pale and infinite. The hatch waits. The symbols watch. The low hum continues, alive, folding into the dunes, patient, impossible. And I know, I am not alone. I have discovered something old, something that has waited beneath the sand for longer than I can imagine. The desert exhales. The hatch waits. The desert stretches pale beneath a thinning moon. Cold air brushes my cheeks, carrying grit and dust that clings to my skin. Each step presses softly into sand that shifts beneath my boots. A structure rises ahead, metallic, faintly humming, alive. I cannot place its edges, its purpose, yet it pulls me forward. The air vibrates, a subtle resonance threading through my chest, my ribs, the soles of my boots. I tilt my head. The sound has no source, yet it fills the space around me. Doors appear where none should exist, framing shadows that shift, fold, impossible in their angles. I kneel, fingertips brushing sand. It clings, cold, metallic, vibrating faintly beneath my touch. I rise slowly. The hum threads through the air, curling around my arms, my neck. The desert exhales, patient, infinite. I taste iron and grit on my tongue. I hear it then. My name, whispered, distorted, metallic, folding into the hum. It curls through the dunes, curling into my ears, threading beneath my ribs. I step closer. Doors shift subtly, impossible movements, folding angles that my mind cannot follow. The hum grows, insistent, resonant, alive beneath the air. Sand clings to my boots, metallic tang in my mouth, brushing skin. I pause. The desert exhales around me, patient, deliberate. The whisper folds through the hum, impossible yet intimate. I feel the structure watching, aware, alive. I kneel again, fingertips tracing the sand. It clings warm, vibrating beneath my touch. The hum threads through my bones, insistent, subtle. The doors shift again, angles impossible, fleeting. I rise slowly. The metallic whisper threads around me, folding into the desert air. The hum pulses with each breath I take. I step forward, boots pressing into sand that remembers. I glance back. Shadows ripple across the dunes. The whisper folds again, metallic, impossible. The desert exhales softly, patient, infinite. I step again. The doors shimmer in angles that should not exist. The hum threads beneath my ribs, around my spine, insistent, patient. The air tastes metallic, thick, impossible to swallow. I kneel one last time, brushing sand to my fingers. It clings alive, vibrating faintly. The structure hums, alive, patient, impossible. The whisper curls into my ears, metallic, intimate, unplaceable. I rise slowly. The desert stretches pale and infinite. The hum threads through the dunes, the doors, the shadows. I am alone, yet not. The desert exhales. The structure waits. The desert stretches pale beneath a thinning moon. Cold air brushes my cheeks, carrying dust that clings to my skin. Each step sinks softly into sand that shifts beneath my boots. The dunes move. Not when, not entirely. The sand shifts against me, forming patterns I cannot comprehend. Figures rise and fall with each crest of the dunes. Shadows fold, curl, fold again, impossible shapes in the pale moonlight. I step closer, fingers brushing dust that clings warm and metallic to my skin. I follow. Each figure seems to beckon, to pulse, to exist just long enough for me to see. Then nothing. Only impressions remain, delicate traces pressed into shifting sand. The air tastes metallic. Faint grit on my tongue. Cold brushes my neck, the desert exhaling softly around me. I hear faint rustling beneath my boots, sand folding like breathing. I kneel, tracing an impression with fingertips. It trembles beneath my touch, alive, impossible, unplaceable. A hum threads faintly through the dunes, subtle, insistent. The figures shift again, rising and falling, always just out of reach. I rise slowly. The sand moves beneath my boots, following, folding, curling around each step. I glance back. No footprints remain. Only patterns the desert has written for me to see. I step forward. The figures pulse with each crest, moving with a rhythm I cannot follow. The air tastes metallic. The desert hums beneath my feet. I feel it pressing against my arms, brushing along my neck, patient and alive. I kneel again, brushing sand through my fingers. It clings, pliant, vibrating faintly beneath my touch. The impressions curl in impossible loops, folding into themselves. I feel the figures watching, existing only in the edges of vision. I rise slowly. The desert stretches pale and infinite. Figures rise and fall, vanish, leaving only impressions. The hum threads through the dunes, subtle, patient. I am alone, yet not. I step carefully. Each movement mirrored, twisted, absorbed by shifting sand. The air tastes metallic, thick with dust. The figures pulse, impossible, patient, always just beyond reach. I kneel one last time, tracing a faint impression. It trembles beneath my fingertips, then folds into sand, gone. The dunes shift silently, endlessly, writing patterns I cannot follow. The desert exhales, alive, infinite, patient. I rise slowly. The figures vanish for now. The patterns remain. The sand waits. And I know the desert is never still. The desert stretches pale beneath a thinning moon. Cold wind brushes my cheeks, carrying dust and grit that clings to my skin. Each step presses softly into sand that shifts beneath my boots. The horizon, it begins to fold. Slowly, subtly at first, then faster, collapsing like a painting, edges curling inward. Light bends in impossible ways. Shadows stretch and twist against dunes that should have been simple, familiar. I take a step back. The sand resists, shifting beneath my boots, swallowing the space I thought was clear. Panic rises, heart thumping, breath shallow. The silence around me remains, patient, infinite, unyielding. I reach forward, hoping for something solid, something familiar. The horizon folds again. Dunes repeat layer upon layer, folding in on themselves. I am trapped in a desert that has no end. The air tastes metallic, carrying the faint grit of shifting sand. I feel the wind pressing against my neck, brushing along my arms. Each step I take presses into the same sand, yet the landscape rearranges beneath my feet. I kneel, fingertips tracing the soft sand. It clings, pliant, shifting, alive. The folding horizon shimmers faintly in the moonlight, impossible angles forming, then gone. I rise slowly, breath shallow. The desert stretches pale, infinite. Every direction looks the same. Every step feels already taken. I try to retreat. The horizon folds again, light bending impossibly, swallowing the edges of the world. The dunes rise and fall like waves frozen in time. I am alone, yet pressed into the fold of a place that has no edge. I stop. Silence threads through the air, thick, patient, alive. The desert hums faintly beneath my boots, subtle, insistent. The wind carries metallic dust, brushing my cheeks, my neck, curling into my mouth. I step carefully. The sand shifts underfoot, forming new patterns with each movement. The horizon folds again, impossible, infinite. I am lost, and yet the desert watches silently. I kneel one last time. Fingers brush sand that clings cold and pliant. The air tastes metallic. The silence presses against my ears. The horizon waits, folding, patient, impossible. I rise slowly. The desert stretches pale and infinite. No edges, no end, no horizon. Only the folding desert, patient, silent, alive. The desert stretches pale beneath a thinning moon. Cold wind brushes my cheeks, carrying dust that clings to my skin. Each step presses softly into sand that shifts beneath my boots. Murmurs float through the air. Soft, structured, indecipherable. They thread around me, curling like smoke, impossible to hold. I pause. The murmurs twist and bend, carrying fragments of thought I did not speak. My own reflections, repeated back in alien cadence. Cold brushes my neck. The desert exhales. Shapes watch from the dunes. Still, patient, aware, edges impossible, angles unfamiliar. I feel their gaze pressing gently against my back. The murmurs swell faintly. Metallic tang on my tongue, grip between my teeth. The desert hums beneath my boots, soft, insistent. Each shape shifts subtly, just enough for me to know they are alive. I step forward. Sand folds beneath my boots, pliant, resonant. The murmurs echo in rhythm with my heartbeat, impossible cadence. The shapes remain patient, unmoving, yet aware. I kneel. Fingers trace impressions in the sand, soft, pliant, impossible. The murmurs thread through my mind, carrying thoughts I did not know I had. I taste metal and dust, thick in the dry air. I rise slowly. The wind curls around me, murmuring, shifting. Shapes fold with each crest of the dunes, patient, silent. The desert breathes beneath my boots, alive, infinite. I step again. The murmurs fold with my movement, echoing, structured, alien. Shapes pulse faintly, impossible, aware. The sand shifts beneath each footstep, pliant and cold. I kneel one last time. Fingers brush fine grit through my palms, metallic tang on skin. The murmurs curl softly into night air, wrapping around the desert, around me. Shapes watch from the dunes, patient, aware, waiting. I rise slowly. The desert stretches pale and infinite. Murmurs thread through the wind, structured, impossible. Shapes linger at the edges of vision, patient, unmoving, alive. I breathe. The wind carries whispers I cannot understand. I am alone, and yet not alone. The desert stretches beneath a sky, emptied of stars. Black, infinite, swallowing any sense of direction. Cold air presses against my skin, carrying grit and dust that tastes faintly metallic. A vibration hums through the sand. Low, slow, almost heartbeat-like. It pulses under my boots, through my legs, threading into my chest. I step forward cautiously. The sand shifts beneath each foot, pliant and alive. Silence presses against me from all directions. It feels heavy, patient, aware. I pause. The vibration grows, subtle, insistent. Each step I take seems amplified, echoing into the emptiness. I taste dust on my tongue, metallic and dry. The sky offers nothing. No stars, no moon, only black that feels like a weight pressing on my eyes. Shadows fold softly against the dunes. I feel eyes that are not mine, patient and still. I kneel, fingers brushing cold sand. It hums beneath my palms, pulsing in rhythm with a distant heartbeat. The silence, it moves. It folds around me, curling in the gaps between dunes. I rise slowly. The vibration threads in my chest, subtle, almost comforting. And yet, the silence is alive, and moving feels dangerous. Each step forward presses into emptiness that shifts beneath me. I taste grit and metal in the dry air. The vibration continues soft, patient, resonant. I step carefully, boots pressing impressions that vanish almost immediately. The desert watches silently. I pause again. The black sky weighs down, pressing on my thoughts. The sand hums faintly underfoot, echoing my heartbeat. Every movement feels mirrored, anticipated. I kneel one last time. Fingers trail along pliant sand, cold, vibrating faintly. The silence curls around me, patient, aware. The heartbeat beneath me pulses, low, steady, alien. I rise. The desert stretches, infinite, black above, vibrating below. I am alone, and yet not alone. The sand breathes beneath my boots. The silence watches, moving alive. The desert stretches beneath a muted sky. Cold air drifts across dunes, carrying dust and faint metal tangs. Each footstep sinks softly into the sand. Then another step, not mine, but echoing mine. Slow, deliberate, just a fraction behind. I pause. The silence bends, shifting around me. A faint hum, almost imperceptible, threads through the air. I taste grit, dry and metallic on my tongue. I step again. The echoed footstep follows. It is sometimes behind, sometimes ahead. Each movement feels watched, mirrored, anticipated. The sand shifts beneath my boots. Shadows fold softly into the dunes. I breathe slowly, trying to steady the tightening in my chest. The echoing footsteps continue, distorted, impossible to place. I pause at a crest. The wind presses against my skin, carrying the faintest rustling. Footsteps echo on all sides now, bouncing across the dunes like broken reflections. The desert has become a hall of mirrors. But for sound, I step cautiously, each movement measured. The echoes stretch and twist, sometimes early, sometimes delayed. I hear my own breath, sharp and dry. And yet, the footsteps feel separate, alive, aware. I glance at the horizon. The dunes ripple under pale, indifferent light. Shadows fold and rise, soft, impossible. The echoes follow me still, reshaping themselves with every motion. I kneel, fingers pressing into sand, cold and granular. The echoes pause briefly, as if noticing me. The desert exhales quietly, shifting beneath and around me. The sound is a reflection of my own, but wrong, distorted, uncanny. I rise again. Each step forward is met with fractured copy, sometimes behind, sometimes ahead. I taste dust in the air, bitter and dry, metallic lingering. The desert seems to pulse, alive with soft, invisible footsteps. I stop. The echo stop too. For a heartbeat, the desert is perfectly still. Then, without warning, they resume, out of sync, unpredictable, watching. I move slowly, feeling the desert fold around me. Each step is measured, each breath heavy. The sand shifts subtly beneath my boots, alive with memory of movement. The echoed footsteps follow, bending the silence into something sentient. I glance back once. Shadows rise at the edges of the dunes, soft and unreal. The echoes continue, fractured and patient. I realize the desert itself listens, mirrors my steps, reshapes the air around me. I breathe in grit and cold, metallic air. Each exhale carries dust, whispering faintly as it drifts. The hall of echoes stretches endlessly before me. The footsteps they follow. The desert lies quiet beneath a pale, indifferent sky. Cold air drifts over the dunes, carrying grit and faint metallic tangs. Each step sinks softly into sand that seems almost alive. Then I see it, a light hovering low, colorless, hollow. It reflects nothing of me, yet it pulls, draws me closer, and at the same time pushes heavy against my chest. The air grows colder, thick with an almost liquid weight. I taste metal and sand on my tongue. My breath puffs in shallow, visible clouds. I step forward cautiously. The hollow light seems to shift with me, closer, yet always just beyond reach. Its glow washes over the sand, casting no shadow, leaving no reflection. I pause. A shiver moves across my skin, tiny hairs standing on end. The dunes are silent, yet the air hums faintly, vibrating in my bones. Each inhale feels heavy, each exhale bitter with dust and cold. I reach out, hand trembling. The light seems to bend toward me, but recoils, keeping its distance. It is not alive, yet it is aware. Soft footsteps of wind drift over sand. I feel pulled forward, then jerked back slightly, as if the desert itself resists my approach. The sensation is hypnotic. My heartbeat pulses in rhythm with the subtle vibrations in the air. I step again. Closer, closer. The light does not acknowledge me. It does not welcome me. Shadows stretch impossibly across dunes. Every contour seems exaggerated, alien. I taste grit in my mouth. The cold seeps deeper into my bones. I stop, hesitant. The light hovers silently, a colorless beacon in the empty desert. My reflection does not appear. My presence does not matter. A low hum begins, almost imperceptible, threading through the hollow air. It rises and falls with the rhythm of my pulse. I feel both drawn forward and anchored in place. Each step is measured, each breath weighed against the desert's indifferent silence. The light pulses faintly, yet the pulse feels deliberate. I sense it studies me. I am alone, and yet not. I step closer. Sand shifts softly underfoot. The cold presses against me, heavier now, almost liquid. The air tastes of metal and ozone. I pause again. The light remains just out of reach. It is hollow. It is infinite. It is patient. I lean into the pull, feeling the tension between my desire to approach and the desert's invisible resistance. The wind rustles faintly over the dunes. Shadows fold into one another, long, impossible. I feel both weightless and trapped. I breathe in slowly, feeling grit and chill mix in my lungs. The hollow light pulses, and the desert exhales quietly around me. I step once more, and the desert waits. The light waits, and I remain suspended, caught between fear and fascination. The desert stretches endlessly beneath a sky muted and pale. Cold air drifts over dunes, carrying the grit of sand and a faint metallic tang. Every step sinks softly, almost swallowed by the earth. Between two dunes, I notice them. Shadows still silent, watching. I hold my breath. The wind whispers across the sand, rustling grains over my ankles. Each shadow shifts slightly, but only when I look away. I blink. They are never the same shape twice. Tall, hunched, thin, impossible contours that bend the desert itself. My chest tightens. Dread settles deep, like sand filling my lungs. I inhale cautiously, tasting grit and the faint tang of iron. I step forward. The shadows move again, always just beyond my direct gaze. Soft murmurs echo in my mind, though no one speaks. The dunes fold silently around me. Wind lifts dust into small spirals that cling to my skin. I feel the weight of unseen eyes tracing me. Every contour of the sand seems exaggerated, alien. I pause. The shadows freeze. Time itself seems to hold its breath. A faint vibration hums through the sand beneath my feet. I take another step. They shift again. Dread curls tighter around me. My own footsteps feel mirrored, distorted in space, in rhythm. The pale light above casts nothing but long, impossible shapes. Shadows between dunes pulse faintly, ephemeral. I want to look away, but I cannot. I move slowly, each step careful, deliberate. The air tastes of dust and cold, metallic and biting. The silence is heavy, alive, as though the desert itself listens. I glance back. Empty dunes. No shadows, but the feeling lingers. A weight behind my eyes, pressing, observing. I look forward. Figures reappear. Never the same. Always watching. My skin prickles. A faint hum vibrates through the air. It is neither wind nor heartbeat, but something in between. I falter. Step after step feels heavier. The sand grips at my boots, slow, persistent. Fear is thick in my chest and my throat. I try to focus on one shape. It dissolves into another as soon as I blink. I sense awareness, deliberate intelligence, though they are no more than shadows. The desert stretches, infinite, indifferent, and yet the shadows feel alive, watching, waiting. I inhale slowly, tasting grit and cold iron. The wind rustles faintly around me, brushing my skin like ghostly fingers. I step forward once more. The shadows shift again, keeping pace just beyond my sight. I pause. The silence presses closer. Every breath heavy, metallic, thick with sand. I am alone, and yet not. I take a final step. The dunes stretch ahead, unbroken, endless. The shadows stand between them, silent, patient, impossible. I move cautiously, the desert's weight pressing down. And the figures do not leave. The desert stretches under a night sky, pale and empty. Cool air drifts over the dunes, carrying grit and the faint metallic tang of iron. My boot sinks softly into sand that seems heavier than it should be. Beneath me, the ground hums, a faint pulse, slow and deliberate. Each vibration resonates through my chest, a rhythm that is not mine. Dust rises in small clouds, exhaled by the desert itself. The air tastes thick, metallic, and dry. I feel it settling in my throat, clinging to the back of my mouth. I take a step. The pulse beneath me responds. Faint at first, then sharper, echoing through bone and sinew. It is alive, and I am part of its cadence. Shadows stretch across the dunes, long, unreal, bending in ways that make the sand seem unfamiliar. I glance around. No one is there, yet every contour seems watched, felt. I kneel to touch the sand. It vibrates beneath my fingers, soft but insistent. Each grain hums with quiet energy, sinking with the pulse in my chest. The desert breathes, slowly, deliberately. I rise, footsteps light and cautious. The pulse quickens slightly as I move, almost playful in its response. I stop. The desert holds its breath. Wind lifts tiny spirals of dust, brushing against my skin. I taste iron and stone on my lips. A soft, low hum resonates in my ears, harmonizing with the vibration underfoot. The dunes ripple subtly, like water frozen in slow motion. Shapes shift at the edges of vision, impossible forms that dissolve if looked at too closely. The ground pulses insistent, guiding me forward, or perhaps warning me. I step carefully, each footfall measured. The rhythm beneath me responds, stronger now, vibrating through every nerve. Fear curls in my chest, heavy and constant, and yet fascination pulls me onward. The night feels closer, darker, almost tactile. I can feel the desert pressing in from all sides, silent but aware. The hum resonates in my teeth, in my bones, and I realize I have no idea where the sound ends and I begin. I stop again. Silence falls suddenly, sharp against the persistent hum beneath me. I hear the faint rustling of sand at a distance, though no wind stirs. A shadow passes over a dune, quick and fleeting. I am alone, and yet the desert watches. Breathing slowly, I place a hand on the sand. It vibrates faintly, almost like a heartbeat, subtle but steady. I taste grit and metal, inhale the weight of the night. The desert pulses beneath me, patient, knowing. I step forward once more. Dust rises, swirls around my boots, catching pale light. The vibration grows slightly, as if encouraging guiding or testing. I cannot tell. I pause, listening to my own breath. The hum aligns with it, syncopated yet alien. Shadows stretch and contract around me. Time feels suspended. I move again. Every step, every pulse feels deliberate. The desert's rhythm is alive, and I am caught within it, pulled forward by something I cannot name. I kneel briefly to touch the sand again. It is warm, cold, heavy, and light all at once. The hum settles into my chest, vibrating through me like a second heartbeat. I rise. The horizon stretches, unbroken, indifferent. The desert breathes beneath my feet, and I walk onward, guided by the pulse, alone yet never untouched. The desert stretches endless beneath a dark sky. Cool air drifts over the dunes, carrying the faint tang of iron and sand. Each breath tastes thick and heavy, like the night itself is weight. The air shifts subtly at first, a whisper of movement under the sand. I pause, boots sinking slightly, grains brushing against my skin. The desert exhales, slow, deliberate. I feel it then. Something vast, unseen, patient. Its awareness presses against the edges of my mind. I am small, and yet it notices. Shadows ripple across the dunes. Long, pale, impossible in their angles. Each one stretches and folds in ways that make my chest tighten. I want to turn to run, but my feet are tethered to the sand. Whispers drift on the wind. Fragments of sound, structured yet indecipherable. A soft hum vibrates through the soles of my boots. It is familiar, yet alien, like the desert is speaking a tongue I almost remember. I take a step. The movement beneath the sand responds. A faint vibration travels through my legs, into my chest. The desert breathes in sync with me, or perhaps I with it. The night air chills my skin, brushing along my neck and wrists. Every grain of sand seems conscious, shifting beneath my touch. A shadow flickers in the corner of my vision. I turn, nothing, yet the feeling of being observed deepens. I kneel, hand brushing the cool grains. The whispers swell, brushing against thought. The sand pulses faintly, like a heartbeat, steady and ancient. It seems endless, patient, unmoving. I rise, footsteps soft, careful. The wind carries distant creaks and rustles. Shapes form along the horizon, vague, ephemeral. I know they are watching, waiting. I can feel it in the pit of my stomach. Breath catches in my throat as the air thickens. A metallic taste, dry and biting, lingers on my tongue. The desert shifts beneath me, subtle but insistent. Every step feels mirrored, echoed by the unseen. I stop. Silence presses against me, heavier than the dunes. The whispers continue, faint and patient, just beyond comprehension. It is vast, and it waits. Dust lifts softly, brushing against my boots and ankles. The ground hums, low and resonant, through the soles of my feet. I breathe slowly, tasting sand and iron, feeling the desert's rhythm pulse with my own. I take another step. The wind bends around me, carrying the faintest tremor from beneath the dunes. Shapes flicker in the pale light, unreachable, observing. The desert breathes around me, alive, patient, and unmoving. I pause again. The vastness presses close, though there is nothing to see. Just the whispers, the shifting sand, the low hum beneath my feet. It is aware, and I am alone. A single grain of sand rolls across my hand, carrying a weight I cannot name. I rise, careful, listening. The desert exhales, and I continue forward, each step measured, every heartbeat mirrored by the ground beneath. I am small, and yet the desert notices. The air hums, the sand shifts, the whispers follow. I am alone, but never untouched. The horizon stretches pale beneath a cold sky. Sand drifts slowly, brushing against my ankles. The air tastes dry, faintly metallic, carrying something unplaceable. A hum rises from the distance. Low, steady, but alive. It vibrates through the ground, through my chest, through the silence itself. I pause. The dunes seem to bend subtly. Shadows stretch and fold in ways that feel wrong, impossible. The hum persists, steady and hypnotic, curling around the edges of thought. I take a step, then another. The sand beneath my boots shifts strangely, as if the world itself leans toward the sound. I cannot tell if I am moving closer or if it moves toward me. The air thickens, carrying faint scents. Burnt metal, dry stone, something faintly sweet I cannot name. Each breath tastes heavy, like inhaling the desert itself. The hum warps the space around me, bending light and shadow. The dunes shimmer, edges wavering, almost liquid in the pale glow. A gust brushes my cheek, warm and sudden. It carries whispers of motion beneath the sand. I cannot see them, but I feel the pulses of something massive, patient, waiting. The hum pulses with it, a distant heartbeat, slow and insistent. I crouch to touch the sand. It vibrates under my fingers, soft and insistent. Every grain seems aware, shifting to the rhythm of the sound. I pull my hand back, It lingers on my skin like a faint memory. Shadows move at the corners of my vision. They are thin, elongated, impossible in proportion. When I blink, they vanish, but the hum remains, stretching through the dunes through me. It is distant, yet close. I cannot name its shape, its form, or its intent. I step forward again. The sand rises faintly, curling around my boots, twisting in slow, deliberate patterns. I feel a pull, gentle but undeniable, guiding me toward the horizon. The hum grows richer, layering tones I cannot parse. A pale wind lifts dust into the air. I taste grit and iron, smell the hollow depth of the desert. The world tilts just enough to unsettle, edges bending like reflections in water. The hum bends with it, rising and falling, twisting perception. I stop chest-height listening. Footsteps are swallowed, but the vibration follows, mirrored in the soles of my boots. I am aware of each movement, each inhalation, each pulse of the ground beneath. The desert feels alive. The hum confirms it. Shadows fold again along the dunes. Shapes flicker briefly, impossible, half-formed, watching silently. I do not look at them, but I sense them. They move when I do not, echoing the unseen rhythm of the sound. The horizon shimmers, light bending around the edges of perception. The hum rises, a thread weaving through space and sand. I step forward and it responds. A dance of movement and resonance, endless and hypnotic. I breathe slowly. The sand shifts beneath. The wind curls around my face, and the hum vibrates deep inside my chest. I cannot see its source, cannot tell where I end, and the sound begins. I am alone, yet accompanied by the pulse of something vast, patient, eternal. I take another step. The desert exhales. The hum stretches, distant and pervasive, filling every hollow, echoing through every grain. I do not resist. I follow. The desert stretches under a sky, turning dark again. Cool air brushes my arms. The sand is quiet, heavy beneath my boots. Stars appear, slowly, impossibly, one by one. At first, familiar, but then not. There are eyes in them, tiny, reflective, blinking, watching, awake in the silence. I stop walking. The wind carries the faint taste of dust and iron. Each blink feels deliberate, a command I cannot refuse, though I do not move. The dunes shimmer under the cold starlight. Shadows shift along the sand, thin and hesitant. Every step I take is mirrored by the unseen gaze above. I feel pressure on my chest, subtle and insistent. A star blinks slower. Another joins, synchronized. The pattern stretches across the horizon. The air hums faintly, vibrating through my bones. I breathe slowly. The sand crunches softly, warm underfoot. The star's light bends strangely, reflecting edges that should not exist. I see shapes fold between constellations, impossible and sharp. I sense their awareness. The blinking, the glint in each pupil, draws me forward. Yet each step feels heavier, as if the desert itself resists. The silence stretches around me, thick, palpable, aware. A faint rustle brushes behind me. I turn, but the dunes are empty. The eyes remain, patient, watching. The night air smells faintly of ozone and metal. I shiver. Each inhalation tastes like the desert's edge, dry iron, cold. The stars blink again, in rhythm with something beneath the sand. I try to look away. Impossible. Every glance returns me to their gaze. A pull I cannot name threads through my chest, drawing me deeper into the night. Shadows twist along the dunes' curves. Shapes shift in the corners of my vision, fleeting and unreal. I hear nothing, yet the hum resonates, a pulse beneath the stillness. I feel their presence, eyes threading through the stars down into sand. The sky grows heavy with them, each star sentinel. I step cautiously, sand whispering underfoot. The eyes blink in response, slower, deliberate, a rhythm, faint but unyielding, guiding me. I sense command in their gaze. It is not spoken, yet undeniable. I do not resist, though fear coils in my stomach. Each blink pulls me, tethering me to the desert's quiet heart. The horizon folds subtly, light bending unnaturally. The stars shimmer, and I feel both small and enormous, caught in their awareness. The desert exhales around me. The air hums with their quiet insistence. I stop, finally. The sand stills beneath my boots. The stars blink once, long, deliberate, then fade into a softer, steady glow. The desert exhales. I stand alone, watched, and strangely drawn forward, as if the night itself remembers me. The desert stretches endlessly. A faint breeze brushes across my skin. The sand shifts underfoot, cool and dry. Ahead, something shimmers. A mirage. Familiar shapes, soft lines, comforting, impossible. I reach for it. The air smells like dry stone and heat. My fingers brush against nothing. The sand rises, swallowing the vision. It vanishes. The dunes are empty again. The sky is pale, still, stretching beyond comprehension. I pause. The hum lingers, soft, low, resonant, threading through the desert into my chest. It vibrates with the rhythm of the sand and the rhythm of something beneath. I walk slowly. Each step sinks, slightly, sand clinging to my boots. The mirage seems gone, but its memory hums in the air. A soft weight in the pit of my stomach. The horizon folds quietly. Light bends across the dunes. Shadows stretch impossibly long. The world feels empty, yet alive. I kneel, letting my fingers trail through the sand. Cool, rough, alive under my touch. The hum continues, gentle, persistent, a pulse beneath my skin. I close my eyes. The mirage flickers in memory. I feel the warmth of impossible sunlight, the taste of faint metal, and wind in my mouth. Comfort and impossibility intertwined. I lie down. Sand surrounds me, embracing, cold. The sky above is quiet, empty yet full. Stars begin to blink faintly. The hum threads through me. I am alone, and yet not. I breathe slowly. The desert exhales with me. The mirage lingers in memory, soft and untouchable. The air tastes faintly of iron and dust, grounding me. Shadows shift with the dunes. Light bends around edges that should not exist. I feel watched, not in fear, but in understanding. The hum, the sand, the unseen presence. They are part of me now. Time stretches. I close my eyes fully. The desert folds around me. Empty, infinite, silent. The mirage returns once more in dreams I cannot name. I reach, and it is gone again. The hum continues. The sand breathes beneath me. I lie still. The sky overhead darkens softly. A gentle warmth rises from the dunes. The hum threads through the night, steady, unending. I am alone, and yet I am not alone. The desert keeps its watch, and I sleep